Salve, salve everybody. Welcome, welcome Andre presente. And we are so happy today to have again, and again, Rosa Galeno. Rosa, welcome. Welcome, welcome. I know you people who enjoyed your show before, and that's why you're here again, because by popular demand, bring Rosa, because she should explain beautiful, should do good job, and that's why we invite you. But today is a little special. Today we talk about something you know, something you want to do, something because it's holiday, and because you, what do you say, half Irish, half Italian, what they call it? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know you're Italian, but you married an Irish guy. So that's what it is.
I did.
Okay.
I did marry an Irish fellow.
You know this. You know
I do this.
Both sides.
Yeah.
So you can tell what it's all about. You're going to do, what are you going to do today, you say?
Today, first of all, happy St. Patty's Day to everybody. And thank you for inviting me and enjoying the program. And thank you to you,
no
Andre,
problem.
because none of this would be possible. St. Patrick, yes.
Yeah, St. Patrick.
He drove the snakes out of Ireland, you know that.
That's right.
All the snakes moved away. But he was, an Italian.
Originally, yes.
Originally,
yes. The history, that's what it
That's
says.
the history, that's what it says.
We don't spoil it out, we don't change it, we don't...
No, we won't counteract facts.
No, that's why.
But, bread, everyone knows that bread is the staff of life. And every culture has their own interpretation of what bread is. And when I was introduced to the Irish culture some 24 years ago when I met my husband, I had no idea that... I thought everybody ate Italian bread. It was, but what I found is that the culture, the food, was immersed in much different aspects of what I call bread and what a true Irishman would call bread. So today, 24 years later, I am going to share with you recipes that have been shared through my husband's family, because they all love to cook, Irish breads. And this in particular is an Irish bread that is very fluffy and light, and I'll explain to you as to why. And it's the one with currants. So it's a little sweet because I choose to put a little sugar in it, but the traditional recipe does not include sugar.
Rosa, tell her that piece missing a day I took.
Yes, Andre had to taste it to make sure it was good.
That's right.
And then this one is the traditional Irish soda bread that is made with caraway. And caraway is an herb, but it's primarily used and recognized in desserts, dessert sweetbreads, and it's seed-like. So, and these are what I use for my currants, which is what I call, I use a little bits of liqueur, whatever I have left over in little bottles. I just put it in a jar. I just take them out of the box when I buy them. I put them in a jar, and then I put the liqueurs. And these stay in my pantry. And I keep adding raisins and liqueur. And then when I'm going to bake, the flavors of the liqueurs just permeates throughout the raisin, and it's not dry. It's nice and plump. So my raisin bread will be softer. But when I make a soda bread, it just blends really well with the soft flour, and you just get a raisin that's not hard. It's just more pliable when you enjoy it with butter and some jam. So it kind of all blends together.
Excuse me. Okay.
So today we have two renditions of true Irish soda bread. The recipe is going to be available for you to try, but I want to show you how simple the method is, because in good cooking, one of the problems is that I have given this recipe out so many times to my friends, and they always say it didn't come out the same. So I think it's really great that I have this opportunity to show you the method, because a lot of good recipes are very simple, but it's how you incorporate the ingredients. And when the ingredients are done correctly, the results will always be the same. With time, I can tell you that I've had my share of breads not coming correctly. Irish soda bread, believe it or not, was not owned rightfully by the Irish. It was kind of invented by the Scots because it's a quick bread. It's not a fermented bread like an Italian bread. So Irish soda bread is a very easy, quick bread to make. And it tells you to sift the flour, so sift it. And in sifting, it makes the flour a little more fluffier, if you will. But if you're going to use cake flour, it's a softer flour, so it gives you that consistency of fluff. But you have to gently incorporate all the ingredients, okay? So a little thing about flour. There's hard flour and soft flour. When we're cooking quick breads like these, the scones it's a quick bread. It's a quick made dessert. It doesn't have to sit and proof and rise, much like a brioche or a sweetbread. These breads that I'm presenting today are the category of quick bread, really fermented through soda, baking soda, and a little bit of baking powder and cream of tartar, which is optional because it'll just make it more fluffy.
When you say quick, because you don't take like the regular bread that take all night to do it.
Exactly. It doesn't need
this way it's a couple of hours to be done.
No. You mix it, you prep it, and you put it in your pan, put it in the oven at 425,
and it's done.
And in 45 minutes you have a wonderful loaf of bread like you have here.
I better learn.
Huh?
I better learn.
You better
myself.
learn. If you were using this recipe and you were going to substitute it with yeast, it wouldn't work well. It does poorly with yeast. So quick breads, Irish soda breads, scones are designed to have baking soda, baking powder, coordinated amounts with cream of tartar. And it's very simple. So I want to tell them some things about some quick fun facts. I like fun facts. I love history of food, obviously. But automatically you think, oh, it has to be Irish. Irish soda bread has nothing to do with the Irish culture. It was kind of designed by the Scots. And it was really, in the 1800s, 90% of the flour that we brought into Belfast, into Dublin, was exported from the U.S. So we learned about, just how important bread and flour and the countries that were making interpretations. So as we export and we learn about other cultures and what they're doing with grains, we adopt those recipes. And when the Irish soda bread recipe came over into the Americas, it was the American Indian who originally used what they called, it was an ash that they would get from a soda ash, not like a baking soda, but it was more an alkaline. And it was interesting because they understood that bread, in order to rise, had to be leavened. Needed that poofiness to come out. And so it was the American Indians that we have to say thank you to doing the conversion from how the original Irish soda bread was done and prepared in Ireland, once adopted by the Scots, and how we then interpreted that recipe here in the U.S., in the North Americas. So I think that fun food facts are fun because when you're sitting at the table enjoying this, you can just kind of throw that little bit of information and say, did you know that it was the American Indians who gave us that piece of leaven to our bread? So it's kind of fun stuff.
More than funny, I learned something.
And hard flour and soft flour, this is a soft flour, and you can just see how it just falls, and it's heavier. It's actually heavier. Where the white flour, and its traditional flour, is it's harder. It's much more dense. So what I did for this, I know that your recipe calls for all-purpose flour, and we're going to start with 1 pound of all-purpose flour, but I want to tell you that I did make a switch where I used a half a pound of one and a half a pound of the other. That's the only thing that I've changed in the recipe, okay? So I'm just going to start with a pound of flour. You can see by the different colors. Almost. Okay. And before that, I have prepped my pan and I've simply used a little bit of vegetable shortening and just dusted a little bit of flour and set it aside. So a little bit of fun fact when it comes to flour. The wheat flour that we use today is what we call a hard flour because it's more of an all-purpose, and in order for it to proof, in order for it to activate the glutens, we need to use a yeast base in order for it to ferment correctly. Where a soft flour, like a cake flour, or if you were going to do cookies, really requires, it doesn't do well with yeast. It's really designed to work well with your baking powder, baking soda, and cream of tartar because you want to quickly have that fermentation occur. And then you make the cookies, you shape them, and you put them in the oven and they come out perfectly. Or you make these delicious quick breads, you mix, you blend, you toss gently because they're not designed to be handled and really kneaded a lot. And you put them in the oven and they just come out to be this incredible loaf.
It's beautiful. That's good.
Yeah.
It's good for me too.
It is good for you, and it's healthy.
Well, that's it.
All right, and it can be very easy. So we started with 1 pound of flour, and as I said before, the only modification I did to the recipe that's available to you through ECAT is that I used half a pound of traditional all-purpose flour and a half a pound of cake flour. And if you want to use all-purpose, by all means do. But it's really, if you want a better result, I would say, invest in a little bit of cake flour. And with that, we're going to add, through the magic of television, a teaspoon of baking powder, okay, a quarter teaspoon of cream of tartar. Where's my soda? Oh, there's my soda. That's not, this is 3 and 4. That was my baking powder. And a quarter teaspoon of cream of tartar, excuse me. A little bit of salt. You could use a teaspoon, you could use a half. If you wanted to make the bread with a little bit of sweetness, and this is when you can play, you decide. This is the basic recipe, but you decide. I like to use our soda bread at home. We like to have it with breakfast or as a tea snack. So I don't really use this as a bread substitute. I use it more as a dessert. So I then take the privilege of putting some sugar in here, and I simply put in 4 tablespoons of sugar. That's it. So we've put in salt, baking powder, sugar, cream of baking soda, cream of tartar, and that's really it. Is that simple enough? I then take this, put it into a big bowl. Andrea, be careful. You see, I use a slotted spoon, simple helper. Okay, I have a fork. This is buttermilk. There's low-fat buttermilk, traditional buttermilk. I've always used the low-fat. It's totally up to you. Put a little bit of buttermilk. I use my fork because everything is gentle. Gentle, gentle, gentle. I simply use the fork. A little more buttermilk. As you can see, I've done this so many times. I eyeball. I gave you, about a cup of buttermilk. This is a quart in this container. It's not going to take the entire quart, but I would say that this is enough with using about half of it. And you can see it's not really kneaded. It's just kind of tossed with your fork, believe it or not. Okay? Take that, move it. Okay. I am going to use a little bit of flour on my board. And I'm going to decide. Andrea, you decide. Do you want to have it be with caraway or with raisins, your bread?
I like a raisin.
You like raisins. I'm so surprised.
I'm used to it.
I'm so surprised. Yeah, because you're Sicilian and they use
That's
raisins
why
in
I'm
everything.
used to that.
I know.
You know what I mean?
So eyeball how much? I mean, I would say maybe 4 ounces of these raisins that have been sitting in just different liqueurs. Then I take and I put all of that on the board with a little flour. I haven't touched it yet. Isn't that amazing?
Doing a good job. I
Okay.
learned something.
Of course. So I simply toss the raisins, like kind of blend it in. It's not difficult. Use the flour again. I'm blending. You see? I have a prepared pan. Can you hold that for me? Put that in.
And that's done?
That's it. You're done.
Wow.
Put it in an oven at. It depends on how your oven is. The temperature. You know, everybody's oven is a little different. So in my oven, if it says 450,
how hot do you have to be?
I put 425 for about 45 minutes. Now, if you want to find out if your bread is done, simply pick it up and tap it, and it'll sound very hollow, and that tells you that it's cooked all the way through. If it sounds kind of thump, it's not done. Put it back in the oven. Do not be afraid. You're not going to burn it. This is the bread without a buttermilk.
This one.
That's that one. This one has a softer coating, and I used buttermilk coating. So it's optional. But you saw how easy. A little trick, whenever you top any of your breads or scones with buttermilk or milk with a little sugar, let it sit for 15 minutes. Because if otherwise it'll just scorch. You want the buttermilk to seep into the dough so that it doesn't burn. Okay, and then I always, put a little bit of white sugar, and I'm done. So you now have a loaf of bread to go home with. Have your wife Carmela cook it.
I know.
And do you see,
This
it
is
doesn't need
good.
fermentation. It's a quick bread. It's made.
I thought that take too much time and things. So this is
see,
easy.
you saw it.
Beautiful,
Okay,
easy.
and what you get is this beautiful bread.
It's easy.
Light as a feather.
Okay.
Okay, and the color, I want to tell you, the color is a little more yellow, right? Because I used a cake flour blend, so.
We don't have to repeat it to the people what you did, because if they like me, they forgot.
Oh.
But it's easy to remember things.
It's very easy to remember. A pound of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, a quarter teaspoon of tartar, a teaspoon of salt. It sounds like a lot. You could put less, but it does. I do need the salt in there to activate it. It's one of my cause and effect ingredients.
Beautiful.
Buttermilk. I opted to use 4 tablespoons of sugar in this. It's an option. You could use less. It's only your choice. You can customize it. You have the choice of using raisins. Andrea, because he's from Sicily, and he loves raisins.
That's right.
We had to put the raisins in.
I grew up with that.
Yes, you did.
And then this is so easy. Can you say buon appetito?
Buon appetito.
That's it.
So we're going to come back and do scones for you.
Okay, good.
Come back.
Thank you. Oh, what are you doing, Rosa? Rosa, keep it working, keep it working. That's good.
Welcome
That's
back, and we are now. You saw how quickly that soda bread measured up. I mean,
I have to clap
isn't
because
it amazing? It's so
because
easy.
it was very easy for you,
right?
Because you've been done a million times, and it's like anything else. It's easy when you know.
Practice. A good cook practices, even when it tastes bad. Keep doing it. That's what I do. That's how I learned.
And I put it here a little bit on my mind, but I think before I leave, I'm going to write down a little bit.
But you can get the recipe. They're gonna issue it on the ECAT.
Oh, good.
So they can get it.
So it'll be no problem.
No problem.
Because I like it to do.
So the scone. Look at that beautiful piece of delicacy. I love this. I don't know what I like best, but I love all this time of the year. it's different because it's so much different from what I'm used to in Italian desserts. So what I've done here is I have 3 different ways of making the scone. So you have the basic scone recipe, which I'm going to share with you, but I've done it here 3 ways. And you can improvise. You can use frozen cranberries. You can chop up dates and apricots. You can incorporate any fruit that you want, preferably a dry fruit, because a dry fruit, and once you kind of immerse it in a little bit of liquid, you could use a little water, you could use a little liqueur. It basically hydrates your fruit choice. And here what I did was I used some frozen blueberries, and you can see that they stayed intact. I also did a cinnamon scone, and it looks like a swirl. And it's just cinnamon and sugar, very simple. And then I used the currants, the raisins, that I used in the bread. So very simple application, one recipe. You can have a lot of different flavors. You can also ice them if you want to really make these as a dessert and make them smaller pieces, and they look like little mini, little mini treats.
Yeah.
You can actually ice them with a little vanilla icing. So again, once you have the basic recipe and you practice and you play with it a little bit, you will learn that you can control what the recipe is going to do for you.
I think a lot of people like me, they're going to like those raisins because you say have something nice there.
I used amaretto. I used amaretto. That's it.
See,
That's
I
what
was
used.
smell amaretto. That's why now more people like it.
I had to put
that's
something
good.
Italian in there. So I
That's
used
right.
an amaretto liqueur, and I used a little bit of frangelico, which I like because I like almond flavor.
Now
and that's
I know.
because my
now
family
I'm going
likes
to
it.
make those too.
Well, you're going to take that Irish soda bread home for Carmela.
Okay. Thank you.
So you're going to bake it at 425, 400, depending on
And not too
the
long.
calibration of your oven, 45 minutes. Okay?
Beautiful.
And you're going to,
And it's done.
yes, and when you go like that, when you hear that sound at the bottom, it's telling you, it's talking to you, I'm done. Okay?
What's the other sound?
The other sound sounds like a thump, like,
Oh,
it sounds
okay,
like,
okay,
it doesn't
okay,
sound
okay.
hollow. Would this sound hollow?
Okay, you don't mind
I
I
know,
ask,
somebody
you know.
told me that a long time ago, and I never forgot. I think it was my cousin, Shavita. Okay, so now we are back with doing the scones. And I told you that you can use a fresh frozen blueberry. You can use the currants, the raisins that I've put in with some amaretto.
All
and
dry
frangelico.
fruit you're talking about.
Dry fruit, but you need to hydrate it, either with a little water or a liqueur, and let it sit. And always,
Liqueur tastes better.
you know, get used to the idea that you can prepare these foods, have them ready in your pantry. Like I just put the raisins in here, I add the liqueur, you can smell it. And I don't have to make a lot of confusion for myself. It's very simple. I'm simply assembling, because a good cook is organized, especially when she's doing baking. So here we go with making the scones, and first we're just going to make the dough, and then we'll decide what we want to use as a variation, okay? So I have, again, 1 pound of flour, and again, I took the privilege of doing a 50-50. Half a pound of cake flour and a half a pound of just all-purpose flour, okay? We're going to take a teaspoon of baking soda, and this is a 1/4 teaspoon, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I am going to use a half a teaspoon of salt. It calls for 4 ounces of shortening. And another thing, if you wanted to make it a little richer, you can do 2 ounces of butter and 2 ounces of shortening, okay? So this is your dry ingredients. Again, we're going to take it, put it into our large bowl. My slotted spoon. Good, Andres, turn that around. I know he wants to be a cook.
Yes, I will put my hands on it.
But you need to grow up to a chef.
Okay.
'Cause that's what I did.
I can learn.
Of course, you can learn. I can learn. So this is roughly 2 ounces of shortening. Okay?
I do a good job?
I don't know yet. I'm still thinking about it. We're going to take approximately 2 ounces of butter. And again, folks, it's just because I've been doing it for a while. Hold on. So, I'm going to take that. I have to get in there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I have to get in there. This is a little different than the other recipe because I have to take the shortening and the butter and work it into the dough.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
It's a little bit tricky.
Okay.
So what you're taking, can you tip that this way? Yeah, I just want.
And you don't put anything
You
in
want
it?
the butter
No
at
more?
room
Nothing else?
No. You're
Oh, yeah.
going to let the butter be at room temperature. And I'm being very gentle with this. I'm not being rough. Okay? You're completely rubbing the shortening and the butter, and it will make a very rich, flaky dough. You know, when I have the choice of using shortening and butter, I take advantage of that. I don't like to use shortening as my base for the fat component, so I take that privilege.
Good.
You could do this with margarine. Okay, you could, but where I don't have this all the time. It's a traditional food for the holidays. I try to tend to go with the full butter. I do use a low-fat buttermilk, however. Now this has 1 egg. This whole recipe has 1 egg, which is really good as well. We take the 1 egg. 1 egg. Buttermilk. Here's my fork. See? Isn't that awesome? How simple this is. Are you afraid of it, Susan? Not anymore. Susan is my new friend, and she wanted to learn how to make buttermilk scones and buttermilk Irish soda bread, so she visited me today. So I hope you're learning something. Okay, so now it's time for me to get my hands
Listen,
a little...
if you can learn, she can learn better than you.
So again...
you work or no?
No. Just, I don't like to work it too much.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to take my mixture, put it right onto the board. There you go, Andre. Do you see how it's already fermenting? I don't know if we can get that. Can you get a close shot of that? It's literally puffing as I'm moving it very gently. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's beautiful.
You do magic.
So
Good.
tell me, Andre,
Yes.
should we do 2 different flavors?
Yes.
Okay, which flavor do you want? Cinnamon, raisin?
Raisin, I like it, raisin.
I know.
You know
do you
that.
want to let's do a cinnamon raisin.
Yes.
I mean, a cinnamon.
Cinnamon, yes.
Yeah, like a
yes.
streusel, almost like a streusel, okay? Susan's
Try
giving
that.
me the thumbs up. So put that back in here for a second.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to, just like
Maybe
you
I
would...
like that one too. I don't
I don't
remember
know.
having that one.
I know you like cinnamon because you're Sicilian.
That's right.
They like cinnamon.
That's right.
So this dough is so beautiful. I'm going to take a little bit of the cinnamon and some of the sugar. Am I measuring anything? No. I eyeball
I
most
noticed
of my
that.
stuff. Yeah, I eyeball. I've been doing it a little bit. So
Yeah.
all we're going to do is take this. And roll it like a jelly roll. You see? That's my scone. Not yet, but could I please have my pan? Thank you. Now, you have to prepare the pan. That's important. So I just used a little bit of vegetable shortening. Do not put parchment paper and try to cheat by saying, the pan will not get dirty, so leave it right there. So if you use a parchment paper, what happens is it sticks to the scone. We don't want that. So the best solution end result is to keep butter it or use shortening and then a little flour. And that's it. Okay? Perfect. Now, this little jelly roll guy, simple. You see? Crisscrosses.
Oh.
It's literally rising and puffing right in front of me.
I can tell.
Can you tell?
Yes.
It's so beautiful. And it stays together, so don't get discouraged if you think it falls apart. And you get the most delicious, light and fluffy buttermilk scones, which, by the way, were named after the Stone of Destiny. There you go.
Wow.
That's it. Okay?
Look at that. It's good.
Now, I want to do, and the dough is so soft. Look that up for a second. I want to take this one.
Oh, you want to do different flavor that one?
I want to do a different flavor. I'll show you. If you're going to incorporate the raisins, you see this dough is so easy to move, but it's very, very delicate. Roll it. I'm going to cut it in triangles, opposite ends. Of course, I'd have another pan ready to go, but this is...
You okay?
Yeah, it'll be fine. Because they grow up and not across.
Oh, yeah.
This is rustic cooking. This is not organized in the way that it has to be so utterly perfect. Yeah, I just put it right in here. For instance, the soda bread that I used today, I did not use a pan. You could put it in a cake pan. It'll be perfect, like, you know, Carmela's going to make it. It'll be in a pan. I like things to look rustic and kind of let it do its own artwork, if you will. That's my choice because that's a style. But when you cook and you try to, it's so hard to make it perfect, I find that I fail. So cooking easy without a lot of complication, I find is the better way. I am going to use a little buttermilk today. And with that buttermilk, remember that I said that you need to wait 15 minutes. And buttermilk is just, it's thicker. People used to drink it. I cannot. I just can't. But people used to drink it, you know, it would settle their stomach, they said. So it needs to coat and get right into the dough, however, so that it really does its justice. And look at that. So we're going to coat it. And what you get is a yummy, delicious, fluffy scone. When we come back, we're going to have a great cup of hot tea, and we're just going to show you how easy it is to enjoy these delectables with some fresh preserves, good cup of tea, and some butter. So come on back.
All right, Rosa, we all did so many things. What do you do now? I mean, tea, I don't know, you talk about tea.
You know, when the Irish call you for tea, it's not tea.
What do you mean it's not tea?
It's another way of saying come to eat.
Oh,
and when I married, it's an expression. When I married Peter, he'd say, we're going to have tea.
And
we thought tea, you know, at 6 o'clock, I'm thinking dinner, but he wants to have tea. What it meant was, you know, we're going to have dinner if we went to visit my mother-in-law.
Oh,
so now I know that when we say tea, but today we're really having tea, the beverage, the hot beverage. And I want to tell you that...
And he's Irish then.
Oh, and it's St. Patty's. We're celebrating in honor of St. Patrick, who was Catholic and Italian and went over to Ireland, you know.
Oh, you know the story. I'm just kidding.
So I wanted to share with you, I have very few things that are truly from Ireland. And I have my friends that visit will often bring me some things all related to food. So when my niece Marisa comes to visit from Ireland, she'll say, "What shall I bring you?" And I'll say, "Bring your uncle some Irish tea." And so we have these by the hundreds of bags. And it's a really different, stronger tea. And Lyons is the company that makes these. And it's drinking like a cup of coffee. I absolutely love it. And before I met my husband, I didn't drink tea, but now I drink tea as much as I do coffee. So I highly recommend it.
Wake you up all night?
It doesn't. No, nothing puts. I am so tired by the end of the day. Nothing could keep me awake.
Oh,
trust
okay,
me.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to have. So my friend Fidelma went to Ireland, and she said, "What will I bring you?" And I'm like, "I never had a tea cozy." So this is a tea cozy, which we lift, and it holds the tea warm, so you can. See, put your hand in there. But it keeps, the whole goal is to keep the tea is so important to the table that we want to keep the tea warm. So
Never saw that before.
You never saw a tea cozy? Well, this is a tea
really.
cozy. And the goal is to, so you put 3 tea bags into here, into your teapot. And I guess the secret to a good pot of tea is to have a rolling boil with the water. And I've been told that many, many times. So the water has to be a rolling boil, and then let it boil several minutes, and then it's the perfect temp. So this is what Amanda, my little helper, has done. And so look at that. That's a rich cup of tea. And would you like a piece of lemon, or would you like some milk?
Lemon, I like it
I don't
better.
have lemon, so
Oh,
you're
why
gonna
are you
have
asking?
because I knew you were going to say that.
Okay,
No, a good
okay.
Irishman has it with a
Okay,
spot
okay.
of spot of milk, right?
Good.
Just a
okay.
spot.
I'll be Irish for the day.
And it's just
I'm going to
really a
tell
drop.
them
Now, do you have it with sugar?
No, really.
Because you're sweet enough?
Yes.
I heard that.
Oh, you hear that too?
Now, going to our beautiful desserts
Okay.
here in celebration of St. Patrick's, would you like a scone, or would you like your Irish bread? Or a piece of each?
Yeah, the bread already I taste. It was
Okay. Oh,
beautiful
you haven't
taste,
had
yeah.
the scone?
No.
So
I
which?
like to taste the other one. yeah.
Absolutely. You can also put nuts in these. So it's up to you.
Almond,
Walnuts.
things like that?
Walnuts is really the right nut
Good.
to go with this.
Let me try the other.
Which flavor? Do you want the raisin?
You
The
surprise me.
I think because you like raisins so much,
give me that.
I'm going to go with the raisins. So here I choose this one. And
Good.
the proper way to eat it, from what I'm told,
And can I
is,
ask you another question? Excuse me.
I don't know what.
Well, can I dunk this?
You can dunk it, but another way to enjoy this is simply
Oh.
to put some fresh butter
Uh-huh.
and then
I never put butter.
a dollop.
Maybe that's better.
Yeah, I think you might like
Okay,
that.
I try. Thank you.
With some homemade jam, which you've seen on the show before.
That's good.
Is it good? Are
Wow.
you sure?
Mm.
So today we had an interesting day. We
That's
made
good.
2 recipes. Andrea got his education on Irish soda bread, which had nothing to do with Ireland. It was really created by the Scots. We thank the Stone of Destiny for the name scones, for our scones. We thank the American Indians for introducing the ash soda, or soda ash. And really, you know, the industry of grains, because we have some of the best flours in the world. You saw how simple it was to make the breads. It doesn't require the fermentation that we do with bread flours, because we talked about a hard flour and a soft flour. And when you're making sweetbreads, remember that if it calls for cake flour, the result may not be what it's designed to do. So if it says use a cake flour, use a cake flour. Otherwise, the product may be compromised. I thank you for inviting me, Andre.
Oh, thank you. And you do a good job. And it's
And he's
too
still-
good. Really too good.
Oh, the camera. And Tony, come here, please. What would you like? I think
I'll have the same thing, give it to
you
Andre.
the same
And
thing.
again,
All right,
stuck.
come on. Let's
Come
have
on, we're having
some.
a
I'll make it the same way I made it for
look
Andre.
at this. Come on.
Come on, Susan. Susan is our new family friend here. She is a volunteer and just a wonderful pleasure to have
And
come
visit
to
the
our
chef.
show. Oh,
St. Patrick, right?
absolutely, St. Patrick.
Can you make one?
I am
Our
making
new
one for
friend?
Susan, of course. Susan, what did you think of the show today?
I was thrilled. I thought I was watching an episode of Rachel Ray. Everything went off so nicely, and the food looks delicious.
Thank you. Thank you very
Good,
much.
and it
Great
smells
job.
good. I wish they could smell how good it smells
It
in
is
here.
fresh and fabulous.
Would you like a cup of tea, dear?
Of course.
There you
A
go.
spot of tea.
A spot of tea with a bit of milk.
You got 30 seconds.
Tony, would you like a cup of tea, dear?
No.
Thank you so much.
Amanda? Jay would love a cup of tea.
10 seconds.
Salute and thank you very much again.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Yeah. Ciao a tutti.
Bye.
Grazie.